Good evening, Arbitrariers, and welcome to Arbitrarium a la Carte. Here with me is, as always, Garrett, Dave, and I am Uncle Rezo, a.k.a. the weird pervert that's going to be talking to you for a bit. So, the subject of this particular slice of podcast goodness is, hentai.
Is it hentai specifically, though?
Well, hentai and just, fictional...
Can we broaden it to cartoon and not just hentai?
Yeah, cartoon and other fictional...
Okay.
Fiction porn.
Yeah, fictional cartoon porn. That's the topic. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, where are we going?
Well, for one thing...
Straight to hell.
Honestly, I would say cartoon porn is going to be less likely to cause that problem.
And technically speaking, there is zero chance of you actually hurting somebody by making it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not... Well, I was going to say you're not indulging in someone else's sin, for lack of better words, but you kind of are, because there's somebody creating it still.
Yeah, so but typically, you can't force somebody to draw what they don't want to. Like, I've seen cases where someone has just shoved money in an artist's hands, and it's like, I refuse to draw this. And oddly enough, it's there's an artist online who is infamous for being just this absolute scummy, will draw the most disgusting thing you can imagine, and he turned a guy down.
Really?
Yeah, but the thing is, it was seemingly innocuous, but so weird that no.
Well, now you got to tell me what it is.
Okay, so have you heard of Shadman?
No, but I Shad?
Yeah, Shadman.
Okay, no, I don't.
Recently arrested for assault with a deadly weapon in California.
Okay.
But
in California counts as a brick.
Yeah. But he was also on drugs, so let him go. So, come on. It's California, man. A man known as Murlogic came to him and said, I want you to draw a picture of a woman with a chainsaw having deforested an entire area with a bunch of Wonder Bread around her. This is that guy's kink.
Okay. And he turned it down because it was weird?
He turned it down because I draw porn, not what you're doing. It's one of those weird stories from the internet that...
I was expecting something, like, just out there, like, sexually or something. What you gave me was a non sequitur that I wouldn't turn down for $200.
Well,
it's like, okay, whatever.
Maybe you need to get a hold of this guy.
Yeah. I can draw a girl with a chainsaw surrounded by Wonder Bread. Why does?
Would you do it if he asked it of Mallory?
No.
That's kind of the thing he usually does. It's one of those cases where it's hard to explain if you aren't familiar with the whole.
Well, I feel like it's fairly clear what the difference is between those two things.
Yeah.
Like if it's some fictional character that he's just made up or just gives me a description of I don't do that kind of artwork, but if it were, that would be something I would be more likely to accept something like that than something that's overtly sexual.
It's usually characters in series where have been confirmed as kind of the rich bitch sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
See, I could see you drawing a picture of Mallory having cut down a forest surrounded by Wonder Bread.
Yes, but not if I was doing it because it was someone else's sexual fetish. No. Nope.
Of course, Mallory's near and dear to your heart, but...
Yeah, she's also 10. And she's a cartoon character, but she's 10.
Yeah. Well, that's something that usually comes up. Is, with cartoons, often morality of things like that goes out the window. It's just a picture.
Well...
It's a complicated ball of wax.
I mean, you're technically correct. I'll give you that. But I feel like it's a situation where if you're okay with drawing cartoon children in those types of situations, there is probably more than likely a part of you that is okay with adult or actual children in real life being put in those situations, even fictionally at the very least. And I can't. Nope.
Well,
I will say this episode got dark a lot faster than I expected it to.
Well, we're dealing with one of the primal urges of humanity. Yeah, that gets dark pretty quick.
Yeah, but we don't usually end up talking about kids in those situations.
That's true.
So let's get back to cartoons. Adult character cartoons.
Examples being Jessica Rabbit,
Yeah.
Hollywood, a lot of Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob.
See, that's a weird one for me.
Well,
Like, as a cartoonist and somebody who's watched a lot of cartoons and draws a lot of cartoons, there are characters that I understand perfectly well. Who and usually it's like I get it when it's a character that embodies feminine aspects. That even if it's not particularly anthropomorphic, a character that embodies other feminine aspects, I can still see somebody being sexually attracted to a character like that. But I don't know. I mean, the famous examples like you mentioned would be. Well, Jessica Rabbit and Hollywood are both human characters. But you've also got, I would say, like we were talking about before, Sally Acorn, and you mentioned Rouge the Bat. I mean, Sonic's. If you're going the direction of anthropomorphic animals, Sonic is probably the prime example of people who get into that stuff.
yeah, and it's also a great example of the three things that have most often dropped buku bucks on commissioning artwork. Rich families, religious organizations like the Catholic Church, and suspiciously wealthy furries.
Suspiciously wealthy.
Yes. I mean, they have to afford those fursuits somehow, but if you've seen the kind of money that furry artists can make, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's one guy who, to get a commission from him, is about $200 or $2,300, $2,300.
Wow.
And people pay it.
Wow, I can't imagine paying that much money for even real porn.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine making that much money for one image?
Yes. Yes, I can imagine that.
Why aren't you doing it?
Again, suspiciously wealthy.
Because I do have a moral compass, and I won't say that I haven't considered it. Because I could do it easily. Especially the Sonic universe. I'm very familiar with the character models for those characters because I like to draw those characters.
Yes, but are you familiar with Fox Pussy?
No, I'd have to do some research on that one.
Kind of looks like a fortune cookie.
I feel like if you're that deep in Fox Pussy, your fortune's not that relevant to you anymore.
Yeah, well...
You know your fortune. You're making it happen.
This is not because of what I'm into. It's what I've been subjected to.
That's what I'd say, too.
I've seen so much fucking shit.
So much fun to use that line.
I've learned more about horse genitalia and anuses than I ever wanted to learn.
I mean, so yeah, you've got those types of characters. Trying to think of some other ones. I know I did see one that was a little bit baffling at first, but then I started to kind of get it, which was Gadget from Rescue Rangers.
There's an entire cult in Russia devoted to her.
Yeah, I think that was how I accidentally found out about that whole universe of cartoon porn.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gadget, and I was for a while I was like, but she's a mouse and she's barely anthropomorphic. There's not even I'm not making the connection. But then I started thinking, well, yeah, but she's also like kind of a tomboy.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a grease monkey.
Often, a reason a character gets sexualized like that is because people are just as attracted to the personality as they are to how they actually look. I mean, and the inverse is true as well, because there is a large amount of Pokemon's content, and their personality is usually summed up by shrieking their name at you.
Yeah, that's one of those that I don't understand, is sexualizing Pokemon.
I understand it because of how the artists usually draw them. That's one thing that they can do. They can exaggerate and characterize, or just flat out take huge artistic licenses with how they draw said characters.
Yeah, but when they do take those artistic licenses, generally they're making them more anthropomorphic. They're doing those types of things, which starts to make it make more sense.
Yeah. And they, to a degree, the
Anthropomorphization.
Yes.
That's probably
making them look like people.
At least it was articulate.
Making people out of them.
Anthropomorphized.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphizing. Yeah.
That is usually what happens. Now, touching on the first a la carte episode with fucking aliens, that also is a very big part of it. There are things you can do with cartoon porn that just you can't with other kinds.
Right.
Not without a Hollywood budget.
Well, I think one of the it's kind of a Pandora's box, no pun intended. When you get into doing those types of things, because once you start giving people once you start creating things that people realize that they're particularly attracted to, and you start doing all those exaggerations and really bringing those things out, people who are viewing them start to it starts to kind of snowball, where you start seeing more and more of that kind of thing, and then it gets more and more extreme as they're starting to explore that space that they had no access to before they were able to see, actually see those things manifested. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a slippery slope. It's hard to say. But I would say it's certainly a slippery slope, but how the effect of that slippery slope... I would say that I don't think it's necessarily bad that that they now have access to those things. I would say that it would be bad in the same way that access to too much free pornography in general is bad. Which is developing porn addiction and creating expectations. Maybe that's the biggest issue with something like that. Creating expectations that even the person who's using that pornography doesn't really intend for, but they're going to find themselves in a situation then where they start to need those things in order to be able to get off, and you just can't do that in real life.
Well, by that point, they already have it. They just need to see it in order for it to start snowballing. I mean, on the artist side, I have definitely seen that happen. Like people who have unlearned to draw because they've just focused on one thing.
Yeah.
I won't name names, but I've seen people go from, oh, okay, this actually looks pretty good, to just grotesque. Mm-hmm. I could name quite a few names, though. Arbitrariums, I will not recommend you... And this is not a recommendation channel. I am not plugging people.
Well, I mean, we're at 12 minutes now, so we got to do the one thing I guarantee everyone is expecting us to do, considering what the topic's about, which is, Garrett's going to love this. It's the same thing we did with the Aliens episode. Who would you choose?
Oh, God, that...
Not to take over hosting duties, but it's like we gotta broach this topic.
Yes. I am not...
It's the fun part.
I mean... I do like watching people squirm, but it's... not with my brother.
Oh, well, then he doesn't have to answer.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna.
There you go. I mean, if it were me, I'd tell you that you should answer.
He is the secret identity of Murlogic. Personally...
And I'd say, fuck you, it's my show.
There is that's a long list. A long, long list.
Well, don't meander too much. Just throw a couple out there.
Well, lately, Reagan Ridley from Inside Job.
Haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it, yeah.
Devonna Tendy from Star Trek Lower Decks. She's a fucking cinnamon roll. There are actually a lot of original characters, which is something that does occur a lot in that particular area.
What do you mean original characters? Ones that you've created in those universes?
No, ones that an artist just creates.
Oh yeah, I got
tabula rasa.
I got you.
Not like fan characters.
Right. Well, that's not going to be that useful to a listener.
No. Not unless you follow certain artists, you won't know who I'm talking about.
Right.
So I can really only pull out two right now off the top of my head.
I've never I guess I understand the Jessica Rabbit thing, but I was never that attracted to Jessica Rabbit even as a cartoon character. She was just... Maybe it was because she was so ridiculously proportioned that I couldn't...
Right.
Which maybe that's going to seem strange when I give a list of cartoon characters that I know that I've been attracted to at one point or another. I think one of the earliest ones, believe it or not, and I think it's more common when you're younger, when you're going through that stage of your life, when you don't really know what the hell's going on. But Lola Bunny was definitely one of them.
Well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a real common one. Sally Acorn was one. I'm trying to get the animal anthropomorphized animal ones out of the way first because I think that's pretty common. Well, I mean, there's a difference between.
I heard that a lot of people started down this path with The Little Mermaid.
Oh yes.
No.
Judy Hopps is also on that list.
Oh well, Judy. I never had that with Judy Hopps. Like I get the personality, but not quite anthropomorphized.
The shots from the shots from her back, bunny butt.
Well, okay. I mean, she does. She has a human ass with a bunny tail. So
also, Midna. That was
Midna, really?
Yeah, Midna was probably the. It's more of a.
You like the Sprite kind of thing.
They're called short stacks in the community.
Short and meaty.
Yes.
Yeah.
To make a short stack, you need someone who is very short, broad hips,
and stacked.
Not always.
Okay.
As long as they have the junk in the trunk and wide hips.
Fair enough.
And very short, it's a short stack.
Mm.
You know, dwarves, goblins, hobbits.
Right. Well, I think one of the reasons that the characters I have are the characters I have is because as I've gotten older, you know, that stuff starts to fade away and you're just not really attracted. I mean, I think more recently, if I chose a cartoon character that I actually saw myself attracted to, it probably was Cora. Cora's an attractive character.
Yeah.
Trying to think of any other ones. But when I was younger, you know, you still get... It kind of develops as you get older, and then, I mean, I grew out of it, but even as an artist. I mean, I still like drawing attractive female characters. You never really get out of that, but... Frankie from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends when I was younger.
Yep.
Thought she was cute.
Based off of Craig McCracken, right?
Yeah, I think that was a McCracken show.
Based off of his wife.
Really?
Yeah. Leslie.
That's interesting because I've seen the initial sketches for that character, and she must not be a very nice person.
She made My Little Pony, so.
Well. I'm trying to think of some other ones.
That is another thing we could talk about.
Oh, God, no.
Good Lord. How are people attracted to cartoon ponies?
That one I don't get. I mean, I guess maybe if it's anthropomorphized enough, I'd at least understand it, but I never got that. Well, maybe because I've never watched My Little Pony, but I would wager that it probably boils down to their personalities because that show, like those characters, just from what I've seen of what they're...
My brother just had a micro seizure.
Just from what I've seen of how they're designed, it seems like they're those types of characters where it's like their personalities are very, very strong. Like they're very almost archetypical.
Yeah.
So I guess I could see that.
Probably why they created Equestria Girls, just so... Okay, please, we have human versions. Sexualize these ones. Good God. No more pony donuts. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Arbitrarius, if you can't tell, I am a foul person.
This is pretty tame, man.
Yeah. I mean, the jokes I made about...
Comparatively.
Some of the jokes I made the last recording session. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like we were talking, we don't got much longer left, so I do want to get into this. We were talking about... One of the things I was talking about is that people always... When you're talking to people who have been attracted to cartoons, or understand an attraction to cartoons at the very least, the more obvious things are, you know, you can anthropomorphize them, you can make them look more human, so you can... Even people who never really get it understand why it's a thing. And I know plenty of people who have said that they're not into cartoons, but if you watch closely when, like, Roger Rabbit or Cool World or something like that's on, they're looking the way that you look. So you can say what you want, but...
That's right, folks. We know you're faking it.
We know you're watching. But yeah, I think the thing that isn't quite as clear is that... Because we talked a little bit about the personalities, but when you're with cartoons, like you said, we can do. There are things that you can do with cartoons that you can't in reality. So you can take
gore.
Sort of extreme interests. Okay, gore. That apropos. You can take those types of more extreme interests that can't be manifested in reality. You can manifest it through animation. So that's one thing. But I mean, even barring that, essentially, what you're doing is that you can take the. I mean, we're just... I don't know. I don't think very many women are actually attracted to cartoons. So I think
you'd be surprised.
Well, I mean... Well, maybe I would be.
But... Look up Yowie.
Yeah, fair enough. But, essentially what you're doing, and the reason I said that is because I'm framing this in terms of how you take a cartoon character that is female and kind of pinpoint what the personality parts are, and the feminine attributes, whatever they happen to be. And when I say feminine attributes, I don't mean just the stereotypes, stereotypical ones, because you have like the tomboy types and those types of things. You got all those little things, and there's a lot of modulation there. But you're taking those things and you're exaggerating them, and you can apply those things to things that aren't necessarily human. And that, I think, from what I can understand, my only way of understanding that is that's how you can end up with somebody who's physically attracted or sexually attracted to a cartoon character that isn't particularly human looking.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can do with animation that you can't do with live action.
That also applies to fucking aliens.
Yes.
Though, just a little aside before we leave. One of the things that kind of warms my heart as I'm browsing the artwork of these specialists is when there's an artist who mostly draws really extreme, disturbing stuff, and they step away to draw something adorable and wholesome. I love that.
That might make me more uncomfortable.
Or when I start following an artist for their erotic content, but eventually I stop seeing it and I just follow them for their skill.
The regular artwork. Oh well, yeah, they're
like there is an artist I know who, yes, they started in pornography, but now I just like looking at their backgrounds, their landscapes. They have this wonderful, like, impressionistic sort of feel to it. It looks hand painted, and just the way they paint the ocean is just jaw dropping for me.
Well, and we were talking earlier about how, like, a lot of artists, a lot of cartoonists have done pornographic content, even if it wasn't for the public. I guarantee you, if you know an artist, they've probably done something pornographic with a cartoon character in some of their drawings.
And there's a whole vault in Disney that has of Disney characters in compromising positions.
Yeah. And I mean, there are famous examples of that too. For me, one of the weirdest ones, just because of the style, is probably Dr. Seuss, because he tried some pornographic content. Cartoons,
he tried,
and it's his style just makes it such a strange, like it's almost like a train wreck. You can't look away because it's such a weird style, but it's still human. Like they're still human looking.
And he clearly has a type.
Yes. Yep.
He was into the thicker women. Now, I suppose I should get to closing statements.
Yep.
Yours?
Oh, I mean, I pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about. Mostly, I just wanted to point out the nuances of bringing out the archetypes and things like that.
My deeply uncomfortable brother.
This is why God doesn't talk to us anymore.
And my closing statement is, if there is any reason to storm Disneyland and go through their vaults, it is this. We need to get that stuff out in the public. You need to see it. We need to see it, people.
Yeah, we need all that Stitch porn.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that guy's artwork?
If it exists, I haven't seen it, and I've actually
not of Lilo and Stitch, but just his cheesecake in general.
No.
He's fucking amazing. Like the lead artist for Lilo and Stitch, wow.
I mean, I can see that the artwork is in general very good. It's the draftsmanship on it is fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, unlock the.
Oh yeah, we gotta unlock the phone.
Yeah, we do have to wrap this up.
We went to dark mode.
Anyway,
this has been dark for a while.
Well, Arbitriers, this has been your slice of the Arbitrarium a la carte, and vive la resistance. Take over Disney.